Hello and welcome to the Freeman Podcast. My name is Charlie Freeman, the founder, and this is...
Bailey Lalonde, Managing Director.
Here we like to talk about health, well-being, spirituality, arts, music and culture. And today we have on the show...
The Alchemist, Charlotte Pulver.
She's making all kind of a new entrance today. She has injured her leg, coming gently off the end of the slide. Welcome, please, Ms. Charlotte Pulver. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Please take a seat.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for joining us, yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
So have you injured your leg?
Yes, just
You poor
through
thing.
dancing, you know.
Dancing injury.
It's the best way to injure it.
Yes, indeed, because you are a very keen dancer, aren't you?
I am indeed.
Is that part of your alchemy?
Well, yeah, for transformation, it can be helpful.
Yes, exactly. Or damaging, as it turns out.
Yeah.
We won't be taking that as a takeaway home tip to today, I don't think. Maybe not. So please tell us about what is an alchemist?
What is an alchemist? Good question. They are, I guess, people who work with inner and external transformation in life. Yeah, essentially.
I like that explanation. It's very packs a punch.
Yeah.
Quite hardcore, yeah.
Yeah, I can
Nice.
give you a very detailed explanation if you want, but
Yeah,
that's it in essence.
I would love to hear a bit about you and your background story and what brought you to becoming an alchemist.
Absolutely. Okay, so it started very young, like at the age of 4. I would find myself wanting to pick herbs and make, should we say, potions out of them, and quite obsessed about it, and would give it to family members saying, you have to bathe in this, or you have to drink this.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but
And when you
also,
say very young, we're talking like...
4 years
proper
old.
Kid. Really? How
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. But it's also my family line. My surname Pulver is a what they call a trade name. Pulverized to grind to powder, mortar and pestle.
Wow.
So it's actually a trade name for apothecarians and alchemists. It's a very old name.
Very fitting.
And has your family been doing this work as well for a long time? So it really is in the family lineage?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So when you started doing this at 4 years old, it wouldn't come as a massive surprise to your mother?
Yeah, I mean, on my dad's line, it's
Okay.
okay, but my mother's like, okay.
Okay, she thought you were a bit strange. Right,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
So what brought you to deciding, I mean, obviously from a young age you were doing it, but what brought you to deciding
really
that was
do
your
it.
career and what sort of is your purpose that you're bringing into the world?
So interesting story. So it kind of started at the age of 15, where this yearning to make medicines became even more. But that was during the rave era. And I realized I could not take the usual chemicals that people were taking, but I was still determined to rave. And so I did my best to find out what other helpful, should we say, plants and herbs were to enable one to legally expand one's consciousness on the dance floor.
Love that.
And then from that, I just wanted to go into my deeper studies with it. And after A-levels, it's like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, wow, how interesting how you came to that. I love that. I feel like we can relate with the love to rave, but wanting to keep it healthy.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
healthy raving, there's a lot to be said for
Yeah.
that, you know, it's the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's very much part of our culture where, even with alcohol and with medicines, there was one point where it was sacred and holy, but it's just got corrupted. And it was good and healthy too.
So you're bringing us back to that.
Yeah, trying to get that to come back. That makes a lot of sense. So that's interesting what you
Absolutely.
just said. So back in the day, the whole
Yeah.
party stimulant side of things was much more healthy and more conscious raising, was it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going back very far back here, like medieval times and pre that. I mean, I'm just talking about the UK, and on this isle, they made medicinal meads.
Yes.
Which were called, which is very much part of the Welsh medical lineage and tradition. They called it megalithin or something like that, and they would
Sounds strong.
and they would imbue their meads with herbs, which were mind altering, but not, should we say, psychedelic, and heart opening. And humans have always wanted to commune with the gods. It's just part of our blueprint, and we knew how to commune with the plants and the planet back then, and we had our own medicines. But over time, those, severance was made politically and with the church and everything like that, and it got corrupted.
I love that you're bringing that back through your work and tapping back into that, because I feel like getting together and dancing and singing and having fun and expressing these things is so essential to mental, physical, spiritual balance.
Yeah.
But when there's the chemical side involved, which then can contribute to the mental illness side of it, where imbalances and all these things, it's really nice and amazing to think about an option where we can enjoy the benefits without having to suffer the consequences.
I totally agree with you. And I think society's been hell-bent on all these substances being part of our lives. And a lot of people have grown up with it, feeling the pressure to take these substances because it's what everyone else is doing. What's interesting is that you said during the rave years, you just weren't, your body just was rejecting them, right?
It was rejecting it. I tried
so
everything.
You had to find something else.
Out of curiosity, and I nearly died taking everything. So I'm like, okay, can't take that, but
risky.
still need to rave, And
understandably.
still need to listen to this music. It doesn't, and be with my friends,
Of course, yeah.
And so, like, I did a lot of investigation, and then I started giving it to my friends and people who were more prone to taking heavy chemicals, and they were just like, this stuff is great.
Really? So that's the feedback you got quite quickly? Was
Yeah,
it people
yeah,
were really
yeah.
getting a similar vibe off it, even though it was natural? And
absolutely. I mean, this was all like legal herbs and with no side effects, and they were having euphoric moments, and the next day waking up feeling great and not with a hangover. So.
Sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, and this is funny enough, one of the reasons we met is because I became interested in these products, and I tried your that amazing potion you make up. Can you tell us a bit about
Love
that?
Potion. I mean,
Love Potion. Yeah.
I mean, it has, should we say, totally evolved from there.
Has it really?
Yeah,
well,
I need to give you some. I should have bought some because it tastes amazing now.
I used to love it then, and it had a very definite effect.
Yeah, no, it works very strong. But now it's like really healthy for you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I've done it the old way, where I've made it from mead. Mead is basically, essentially, it's just honey and water. It's fermented honey and water.
Wow.
Like, you can't get any purer than that. And yes, it is made into a natural alcohol, but honey alcohol, should we say, is probably one of the most healthiest for us.
Yes.
And it's fermented honey, and honey is so good for like the digestive tract and immunity.
As well as fermented things.
Yeah, exactly. Good for the microbiome. So in this fermented love potion, I have so many amazing herbs in it from all around the world, and it smells so good, tastes good. Yes, and it opens the heart. Great for raving, but also it's an aphrodisiac too.
Oh, double whammy.
We'll have to try that one then, won't we? Here at the Freedom Foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, even the earlier version you had of it was incredibly effective.
Yeah, no, that's
it
quite a strong punch.
It had quite a potent taste, quite bitter.
It was very bitter,
It
which
was
not
quite
many
bitter.
people could enjoy.
But the effect was good, and you're getting a buzz and a sensation, which I think, as you said, all of us human beings are drawn to.
Yeah.
But without the negative side effects or the dip in consciousness, which I think is one of the main
dumbing down
negative things that alcohol and other drugs.
Yeah, we don't want to have a trade-off. We have this one moment, and why should there be a trade-off?
Exactly.
It drains us of our life force. Why should we have that trade?
No, we shouldn't.
Yeah,
I love what you're doing. It's really I had no idea the depth of everything that you're doing, and it's so interesting to be actively learning this on the show.
It's great, isn't it? What's your sort of main dream with it, do you think?
My main dream? I think what it is with the love potion and, should we say, the alternative things to take, my main dream is that people realize that there is other ways to party and socialize, which just does not need to be detrimental to one's health, physically and mentally. It creates so many problems in the world with addiction and, and how we socialize,
Definitely.
Yeah.
How interesting. So
We'd
is
like to
that the
support that.
main sort of arena of alchemy that you specialize in, is making these different potions that are sort of an alternative to drugs or alcohol in a way, an alternative to partying substances?
They are, I would say, if I had to put it into a word, I say they are an elixir of love and life and connection.
Ooh,
Wow,
I love
what an
that.
amazing thing you brought into the world. We really want to celebrate that here. We're big believers in that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even if people are drawn to the other stuff every now and again, it's nice to have the option, have a bit of balance.
Yeah.
And apart from that, I understand that you also, you're an expert in health and naturopathy and things like that in general. You get clients coming to you and saying, I feel like this, I feel like that, what should I give up? And you can advise them how to improve their microbiome and give them dietary tips and things like that. So is that another big part of your day-to-day?
Absolutely, seeing clients and developing treatment plans. But the way I work is all about simplicity and fun. You know, like often people, if they have health issues, it's, you know, like can be a lifetime worth of habits and just what they were taught from when they're young. And a lot of people feel like, especially dietary, that it has to be boring. And I just try and make it as simple as possible for people, but fun and informative so people can make those changes very quickly. So yeah, it's treatment programs, but it's also, I teach a lot to do with self-care, about how they can, people sometimes they come to me, they really want to get into meditation, or they have like issues with like anxiety and depression and trauma, and how to create self-care practice to help rewire the whole system.
That's amazing. That's so important, because I feel like between just the things that you just mentioned, anxiety, depression, trauma, I mean, who in the world doesn't suffer from at least one of those, if not all three of them, in some way or another? So it's really...
It's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems that just this sort of typical path of going to see a doctor and being prescribed something that's like another chemical, to me personally hasn't worked very well for me with anxiety, depression, or trauma transcendence. And it's really nice to have an alternative option or a more holistic approach where people who need help with transcending these sorts of things can have someone to go talk to who can essentially do the same thing as prescribing something, but rather than it being potentially detrimental to your health and well-being, perhaps it's holistically
Prescription
good
medicine,
all the way around.
Prescription medicine, I've heard in America it's like something like 80% of people are on some sort of form of prescription medicine.
Absolutely.
I don't know what the percentage is here in the UK.
Yeah.
But it's there aren't, you know, it's quite a hardcore statistic, that.
And the side effects. The side effects are heavy.
Yeah, and
Can
they're hard
be.
to get off these things, as far as I'm aware. I've personally not gone down the prescription route, but you know, that's the whole point of this foundation, really, is that we're trying to offer up alternatives to people, because, you know, a lot of people aren't educated or made aware of the sort of things that you're offering.
Yeah.
They just go to the doctor and the doctor says, take this, and they go, okay. And then before you know it, they're on that thing, and then they've got to try and get off it again or not, as the case may be. I don't know.
I know.
It's not my area of expertise, but it's quite a murky world, isn't it?
It can be, and at the end of the day, both systems of medicine are needed.
Yes.
But at the moment, what's happened is, and it's cultural and it's political and it's gone on for a very long time, is allopathic medicine, which is the one we have now, or they call it orthodox medicine. It's just a different perspective of looking at the body. That's all it is. And they call it a reductionist perspective. So it looks at one point, whilst holistic medicine looks at the whole, like the whole body. But the one point is really important if you've got life and death situations. But because this reductionist viewpoint of looking at the body is, like, should we say, in charge of so much right now, it only looks to control symptoms. That's all it's about, is how to control this one symptom. But it's never going to solve it.
It's not a root cause thing, is it?
So the medicine is only used to suppress and control a symptom. So this is what happens is when people take something, you know, if you control a symptom, the body can work itself out. But if it's the wrong thing for it to work, it won't work out. And then people start taking so many different medications, and they get on this like treadmill. and then come all the side effects. So it's actually, it's not the right medicine really to be taking on a, just for normal things. It's good for life and death, but everything else we need the holistic.
Yeah, look at all the pieces of the pie.
Yeah, and we need them together. Yeah.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
I feel like that can resonate with a lot of people because for a lot of people, obviously the Orthodox medicine does help them a lot and helps with the symptoms and different things like that. So it's maybe extreme to go radical one way or the other, but it's nice to meet in the middle and find a balance.
Yeah, I guess there's a time and place for everything, and horses for courses to an extent.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a bit about the what you were up to during the outbreak of Corona? Because I know that you got heavily involved and almost overwhelmed with the kindness that you offered. And, and can you just,
Sure.
Because we were in touch a lot then.
Yeah,
I could see that you were under quite a lot of stress.
We were in the same neighbourhood going
you
through
come
lockdown.
and dance when we were doing the performance.
Yeah,
that window,
yeah.
And I'd be like,
that
how's
was
it
my
going with the NHS and the homeopathy and all this? And you were like, it's quite full on.
That was one little bit of respite, especially at the beginning when you're only supposed to go out once a day. I was like, going for my daily dance outside Charlie's. Okay, we can do this.
And you were the boogieing away, man. You were showing the street how to do it.
I so needed it. So yes, during the pandemic this year. Beginning of March, it's nearly like 9 months ago, wasn't it? I had a very clear understanding of how to treat this specific viral strain. Thankfully, because I got it right at the beginning, but because I have such a stocked apothecary, I just knew what to hit it with, and it was out of my system in like 48 hours, and then I was just like, boom.
Woo!
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Right, we need to share that information, don't we?
And so I had this like kind of internal experience of knowing what it does to the body and what works. So after that, obviously hearing from Italy and Asia what was going on, and we had like this huge this big fear coming to the UK. And then after going through that, I was just like, guys, there's really nothing to fear here, And so had various people coming to me as clients, because back then, everything went online, so I was like helping people all over the world. And then people in the NHS came to me as clients because they started to develop symptoms, but very strong symptoms, because they're like on the receiving end of a very high viral load. And they just said, after me giving them the protocol and like getting better within 24 hours, like radically, they're like, why don't we have this available to us? And I'm like, well, yeah. Like Bob Moment, why don't you have this available to you? It's like, it's a sacrilege in some way. They have the external protection, but not the internal protection. And everything is about this right now. It's not about internal immunity, It's just like, mask, great, it's good to have that. But no one's talking about internal stuff, still even today in the government.
It's so important, and I feel like with all illnesses, so much of it is if we have a balanced, healthy internal, then we're so much more
robust.
Yeah, we can defend ourselves against the external so much more easily.
Exactly. So it's from that moment with that one question from one client in the NHS, I was just like, okay, let's call up all the best suppliers of these herbs and supplements that I was using in this protocol and just see if they want to donate or give at vast reduced rates. So we could give like some of the best immune packs out to individual NHS workers throughout the UK. So that was what was done.
Wow.
Amazing work.
That's
Bravo,
amazing.
bravo.
That's what a noble duty. That's
And
really nice.
the packs that they were given would obviously like massively helping them out, because I understand that a lot of the NHS workers were getting so worn out because they were getting ill. They just obviously with your packs, the ones who were lucky enough to receive them were assuming they were taking them, because let's be honest, there's quite a big strange sensibility towards homeopathy and packs of this kind, aren't there? Some people are just going to be like, that's not going to work.
No, well, they were.
Were you up against that to an extent?
How it was working with, I didn't approach NHS. It just grew like wildfire, where people who worked in the NHS, they could just email in and apply. So you knew it was going to people who wanted it, and they wanted everything in the pack. So there's like 7 different things in it. anything from vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, something called andrographis, which is a herb, medicinal mushrooms, essential oils, Osho root, and homeopathy. And the thing about homeopathy, it was interesting because I just thought they were all going to be against it. But when I asked them all, like 70% of them wanted it.
Crazy.
So I just gave it to the ones who wanted it.
That's amazing. I feel like even on a global scale, from my perspective anyway, people are starting to look at this. My dad's been speaking about alternative health since like the 70s, and it was like, you're nutty, you know? But now I feel like people, just as humans, we're starting to look at certain things we've been so attached to and rigid about that aren't actually benefiting our evolution as a species, and looking at it with a different perspective where maybe we need to consider the more holistic picture and multiple different, kind of a multifaceted angle or angles on any given issue. So I imagine that's also part of probably why people in the medical industry were more open to what you have to offer.
Yeah, no, totally. They knew that they weren't given what they needed, which was internal immunity. A lot of them, who signed up, know it's so needed in the current system that the two must come together.
Exactly. And you hear more and more doctors speaking about that all the time, I find, about, combining what you're doing with also the more orthodox and how that can be so powerful.
Yeah.
And what's your take on the current situation? I mean, we're now in the middle of October, and there's a bit of a... It's a bit boring talking about this.
No,
but,
I'm okay.
I think people need to hear it.
Sure.
There's a bit of a spike going on and stuff and blah, blah, blah.
I can only talk from my experience and then talking to other colleagues in the NHS.
Yeah.
So, from what I understand, I mean, prove me wrong, I don't know, I haven't been listening to the news for a few days, but the government are talking about infection rate, but there's a low mortality rate. That actually, it's no point to do a lockdown over that. We can have an infection rate with any old virus in the world. The only reason we've got this high infection rate is because we're testing for it. We could be testing for any other virus and see that we all have it. Like herpes, for example, something really common. But if there's going to be a low mortality rate, there's no point for doing radical changes. And this is what a lot of the doctors are very furious about, that the scientific data is being used incorrectly.
For their, seemingly maybe their own means, without wanting to get political.
I have no idea. I'm not going to comment on that, but what is being done right now is not at all responsible. If they want to protect civilians, what they should be doing right now is those in the vulnerable bracket, like who have pre-existing issues or over 80, they can have their isolation and be taken care of and watched over, but everyone else get on with it. What it's showing us, if the mortality rate is low now, it's showing us that the virus is become a lot weakened, and we've got some sort of herd immunity.
Oh, that's positive.
Yeah, it's all positive.
Great. So do you have a prediction for us for when we're going to be out of this mess?
No.
Because I don't work in government.
Well, there you go.
It's pretty hard to predict, I think.
Yeah, Boris on the hotline.
Yeah.
As a takeaway for all the viewers from around the world that are watching in these times where a lot of people are isolated or scared or, all of the above, do you have any kind of tips or tools or any advice for the individuals from wherever they are watching it, what they can do to internalize these practices that you have?
Sure. I mean, I'm very happy to go through something very quickly.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah?
Yeah, go on. We can all do it together.
We can all do it together. All right. Okay, so put your hands together like this. So this is a mudra, which just brings both sides of your body together. And the breath that you do is in through your nose and out through your mouth. And what you're going to say to yourself, I'm going to teach you how to ground yourself, clear yourself, and protect yourself.
Okay.
All right, and you can do it instantaneously. Okay, so take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And silently say to yourself, body, I give you full permission to ground. And then take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And then silently say to yourself, body, I give you full permission to let go of all energy which is not mine. And then follow the breath again. In the final round, silently say to yourself, body, I give you full permission to protect yourself. And then the breath. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Thank you so much
That's
for
powerful.
sharing that.
Simple,
So strong.
powerful, so strong, man. Makes you just feel,
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel very grounded
Sorry, I'm
right
just
now.
treading
Thank you so much for sharing that. And for the viewers watching, we will leave the links below for how you can get in
Yes.
touch with Charlotte
And
Pulver
audibly.
directly if you would like some one-on-one, as well as more information.
Thank you for listening or watching, and take care until the next time. Thank you, Charlotte. Beautiful. Take care. Thank you very much
Thank you so
indeed.
much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was so lovely.
Really
Thank you,
easy.
sweetheart.
You guys make this